So far, my big takeaway coming into this draft was J.J. McCarthy was being overvalued. That was my big takeaway. So the Giants, Diana Rossini reporting that the New York Giants were in on Drake May or nobody. So for people just tuning in, everybody's watching this. Caleb Jaden, Drake May, no big surprise. Marvin Harrison for. Falcons go, holy moly. That is interesting. We've had our first big surprise. This is live, by the way. Michael Penix Jr. going to Atlanta at 8. Oh, that's interesting. Well, what they're saying is Kirk Cousins is going to be a 2-year player, a 1-year player. By the way, how lucky is Penix? That O-line, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, 2 backs. How lucky is Michael Penix?
Wow, that's shocking. I think just because a lot of people, I knew scouts during the season that had Penix as a second rounder. I thought that was crazy. But there was a lot of talk a couple months ago that he was not a top 15 pick. And then to go to Atlanta after they just spent all that money on Cousins, they're also getting a guy coming off a torn Achilles, right, who's not a great athlete. So I completely understand what they're doing. Maybe there's doubling. I mean, they're not. Maybe they are doubling down on the quarterback position. They feel good about their defense. They've drafted 75 offensive skill guys these last couple of years. Their offensive line's good. Hard for me to hate.
How about this? Raheem Morris was an NFL coach, couldn't get the quarterback right, got fired. Goes to the Rams, becomes incredibly great friends with Sean McVay, and Sean McVay made it very clear, dude, we had Goff and moved off. So if Raheem Morris, who's a really smart guy, learned something, as McVay's best friend, you can't be good enough or deep enough at quarterback. We had Goff and we moved off. And so I think this is Raheem Morris saying, listen, this is what I love about this move. A lot of these defensive coaches can struggle with how urgent is quarterback. This is like when Washington had a chance to go out and get people, and Ron Rivera wouldn't make the move. Raheem's like, listen, I'm not only going to get Kirk Cousins with this stacked offense, I'm getting his backup. So I got to be honest, I like the move.
Think about this. Raheem Morris had a front row seat as the coordinator 2 years ago when Stafford went down and they were completely fucked, right? I mean, it derailed their season. So you're signing a guy to a lot of money who's a really good player when he was healthy, but he's coming off a torn Achilles. And think about one of their guys in Green Bay just benefited a lot from having a young quarterback on the roster when the Rodgers things got weird. They didn't skip a beat, and now they're a team that everyone's going to love. So this is the old Ron Wolf thing. And Andy followed it. I mean, all these Kyle Shanahan guys, just draft these quarterbacks. You could argue, if you're all in on Kirk Cousins this year trying to win, take a defensive player, especially a defensive lineman. Their sack production's been terrible. That's why a lot of people thought they would take an edge rusher or the Texas defensive tackle. But if you're going to go off the beaten path at this position, this guy's good, Colin. I mean, listen, he got hurt a lot, but he has not been hurt the last 2 years. To me, I love this guy. The one concerning thing is when he did play Michigan, who turned out was an NFL team, they were rattling him and he was way off. But that is a one-game scenario. He has a large body of work. No one throws a better deep ball. No one, just I would say start to finish this last 2 years, probably has had a better 2-year stretch. Jaden had a better season this year. Caleb had a better season last year. Same with Drake May. But over the 2-year body of work, you'd have to say Penix was the best, right?
Yeah, and I also think a lot of big game experience. I've defended him on Michigan. My takeaway is a lot of NFL quarterbacks faced Alabama and Nick Saban and looked awful. A lot of NFL quarterbacks can face Georgia over the last 4 years and not look very good. I mean, C.J. Stroud couldn't beat Michigan either. I mean, they had a stacked deck, one of the most talented teams in the last decade.
Listen, and I'm a Michael Penix fan. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. I think the concerning part about it specifically, though, is he was sacked 11 times during the season. He had one of the best offenses, so he never got touched. So he played in somewhat of a situation like a lot of the Ohio State and Alabama guys have over their career, where it's a pretty unreal situation with awesome wide receivers, and he dominated. And then they started getting pressure. They started hitting him. And it's not like he's small. Like I don't view him as slight, quite like Jaden Daniels. But you were at the Oregon game up in Seattle, that Michigan game. A couple of times you're like, is he going to be able to get up? That's the one. Now, get a little bigger. He doesn't have to play right away. Is he immediately one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL? I mean, he's making he's making $6-7 million. Seems like a pretty good deal.
he's the most talented backup in the NFL officially. We can go with that. He throws a gorgeous ball. By the way, the Joe Alt pick by the Chargers this morning, I did a mock draft. Until 8:30 in the morning, I had the Chargers taking Joe Alt. I said Harbaugh's just going to take the best tackle. And then I talked myself out of it for J.C. Latham, who Tennessee took, the best right tackle in the draft. I thought, no, he's got Slater at left. And so I talked myself out. Alex, one of my producers on the Herd on FS1, can back me on this. I had Joe Alt till 8:30, and I said, he's going to go get a right tackle. But Latham, I can see Harbaugh just saying, just get me the best tackle. We'll figure out where to play him. Plus, Slater had an injury before. If Slater goes down, Joe Alt's a natural left tackle. So, and the thing about Alt is he's super athletic. He was a high school tight end and defensive end. Brian Kelly told me the other day on the show, their only concern was could they put weight on him? He was just so athletic. We're like, can we get him to 310? We're not sure we could. So Alt's not a bulldozer, but he's really nimble, really athletic, and he's a house. But he's one of those guys with good feet. It's like the man upstairs does not give you a lot of 6'8", 320-pound guys with great feet, and Joe Alt's that guy.
Never bought. Now, who knows? I guess if Arizona had traded and someone taken a quarterback there and Harrison was also on the board, anyone that's watched Jim Harbaugh operate for 15, 20 years, he wants to play defense and run the football. And he for a former 15-year captain comeback quarterback, if you talk to anyone in the NFL, they're like, he's really more like an offensive lineman than he is a former quarterback. He gave that long kind of diatribe at the owners' meetings about the importance of that group. They already have the left tackle. The one concerning part is, doing my research, he's never played right tackle in college. Sometimes when a guy makes a transition with your feet, it can mess you a little up. But I'm not even taking an educated guess here. I bet Jim loves that his father was an NFL player. You saw the size when they hugged of those two men. Jim has to just be really excited. You get his GM from Baltimore, big physical guys. We all know the way that he's going to want to look at the people he chose. There were 4 question marks with the Chargers: Bosa, Mack, and the 2 wide receivers. He found a way to keep the 2 pass rushers, and he got rid of the 2 wide receivers. I don't think that's by coincidence. Do you?
No, and Chicago, Caleb Williams at 1. They just picked Roma Dunze, so back-to-back Huskies at 8 and 9. Chicago goes with another receiver. I got to tell you something. I thought they'd go defense here. I thought they would trade down or go defense. So Matt Eberflus, I figured he would pound the table because they have a great corner in Montez Sweat. I figured he'd pound the table for the edge rusher. But right now, look at this. We don't have a defensive player through 9 picks. Has the world changed in this league? So Roma Dunze, who to me, he is the most there's just nothing. He did combine. He's productive. One of the things as a Husky fan, he got better every year. Like, he made a noticeable leap. He has not plateaued. The thing that was interesting, a lot of people thought the Jets would get a receiver, but Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady don't like young receivers. So I just don't see it. I just don't see it. So Roma Dunze goes to the Bears. Watched him live. Watched 15 of his games. I like the pick.
I was texting with a buddy who's a wide receiver coach in the NFL and is one of the better ones. And clearly, most people in some order had Neighbors or Harrison and Neighbors. Rome was the clear 3 guy. And my question to him was, who's the best character guy, in terms of the wiring off the field? And his response was Rome, and it's not close. And those type guys, because there are some question marks with his speed. And this guy said that there's a big difference in just pure speed, which Neighbors is faster than them all, and your ability to run routes and get open. And that's not a problem with Rome. The other thing is he's wired a lot. Like, and this guy compared him to Devontae. Very serious, is all in on football, will do whatever it takes. The Bears clearly, what they're looking for from a character standpoint, we've all been saying for a while, and I don't even think it's debatable at this point, there has never been a better situation, at least in my life, for a number 1 quarterback to go to in terms of his roster. So now he's got Keenan Allen, DJ Moore that are established high-end players. You add a receiver in the top 10. You have a good defense with some Pro Bowl level guys. What more could most guys go? Bryce Young, Carolina. Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville. I mean, it usually is. Even Peyton Manning, right? They barely won 3 games. This guy goes to a team. It is not inconceivable if Caleb is just solid immediately. Are they a 10-win team?
Yeah, no, I think you have to feel this is the best day for the Chicago Bears since the Super Bowl win in the mid-'80s.